This new Warlock Prismatic build lets you become an unkillable god, melting literally everything in the game regardless of being in Master and Grandmaster content, whilst massively under the recommended power level. Some of Destiny's most hardest activities in the entire game. You'll be melting everything using your prismatic abilities, your super abilities, and you'll be supporting both yourself and allies by obtaining frequent DPS buffs through radiant effects, but also having constant cure and restoration effects, which you'll have with almost a 100% uptime. And not only that, with Devour always being active as well, you'll get health back on every single kill too. The amount of sources we have for getting some form of health back is insane. If you die with this build, you're either using it wrong or you're bad. But it really is just wild how we can sit in Master content tanking so much damage. Now this build can be optimized for multiple exotics, so I will go over the exotics that you can run with this build. Whether you want to have infinite abilities or you just want to maximize your team support, you can do that. But in this video we'll go over the setup of the build, how to use it and all of that good stuff. Now this video is sponsored by my guys over at CD Keys. They offer cheaper games for up to 90% off on all platforms. If interested, see the details below along with my link. Now without further delay, be sure to hit that rating, comment, subscribe and share for more, and now let's ignite the flame. Roll the intro. Now as always, if you enjoy these build videos and you want to see more top builds for Destiny 2 The Final Shape, feel free to view that full playlist down below, as I do cover regular builds here on the channel. And if you do have a build that you want me to check out, leave a comment below or join my Discord server and let me know, also linked down below. Now with this build, there are multiple exotics that you can use for a variety of different things. Our core primary exotic we'll be using is the brand new one, the Speaker's Sight. This is a really unique exotic unlike a lot of others because it changes the way our healing grenades work by making them even more powerful. Now I'll get to this in a moment, but some other exotics that you can use for this build are the Mantle of Battle Harmony to get extra super energy, since our super is a core part of this build, but you also have the Sanguine Alchemy, which is another great exotic that pairs well with our solar mortars that we're using to trigger Devour and infinite grenades. Since we are a team support build primarily, creating infinite cures and restoration effects, we will be going with the Speaker's Sight, because by using this, we'll convert our healing grenades into a restoration turret that heals us and occasionally spawns orbs of power when healing allies. When combining this exotic with the Feed the Void aspect and the new Hellion Solar aspect, will create a significant gameplay loop that allows us to get the restoration turret to give us the health and restoration, and by using our melee and the assistance of our class abilities mortars, we'll consistently get kills to keep Devour active to give us that grenade back faster. In most endgame activities, this loop is enough to ensure that you have at least 1 to 3 turrets down at a given time, and with all that health being thrown at you, you really just cannot die even if you're bad at the game. In even harder content like GMs, this will significantly help keep you alive in situations that would usually kill you. You're not truly invincible though, but you really can tank some damage. Now how the build works is you'll first use your healing grenade, which will heal you and turn into a restoration turret. You'll then use your melee and or class ability to get the ability Final Blows to activate Devour and Radiant, and then you just get multi-kills to spawn orbs, and that's basically it. Rinse and repeat. Now let me pause you there for a second, because by doing that, you're getting Cure, Restoration, Radiant, Devour, Hellion, spawning a Fire Sprite and spawning an Orb of Power. Cure is going to give you health, Restoration is continuously regenerating your health, Radiant is going to give you a 25% damage buff to weapons, Devour is giving you instant health on kills, essentially acting like a cure but when you kill adds, but it's also giving you a lot of grenade energy at the same time and extending Devour's effect. Hellion is throwing balls of fire at enemies that acts as an ability kill to trigger and extend Devour. Fire Sprites are giving you even more grenade energy, and the Orbs of Power are reducing the cooldown for all abilities and providing you with another Radiant source through artifact perks. This might be a lot to take in, but put simply, all you have to do is throw down a healing grenade and activate your melee and rift, ideally getting kills with the abilities. That's basically as simple as it gets. It really is an easy build to use, assuming you got it set up the right way. Every part of this build setup is very important, so listen up. Firstly, becoming Transcendent might seem like it's never going to happen because you're lacking darkness energy. With our Prismatic subclass, we have no sources of generating darkness energy to become Transcendent, but as it states, to become Transcendent, you need to deal damage with both light and darkness damage types. However, dealing damage with kinetic weapons provides energy for both. The best way in my opinion for getting this energy up is to use Outbreak Perfected. It is an S tier weapon, it's great for anti-barrier champions this season, and it also deals a lot of damage considering it's a primary weapon too. You can use darkness weapons like the Call or any stasis or strand weapon, but your best bet is the Outbreak, specifically for this build this season, because by just sitting there in the back dealing damage with it, you'll rapidly start building up that Transcendence energy, and this is important because it gives us some unique powerful abilities when we are Transcendent. Now getting into the setup of this build and starting with the loadout, you want to run weapons that are suitable for the activities that you're playing. So for example, this GM requires you to have barrier and unstoppable rounds. So this season, barrier and unstoppables can be stopped with pulse rifles, sidearms, scout rifles, SMGs and snipers, with overloads requiring either hand cannons or swords. Good weapons to run this episode in the kinetic slot are the Outbreak Perfected, the Call, and a Midnight Coup. In the energy slot, I recommend the Bane hand cannon as long as you have an incandescent perk on it, and the new rocket frame sidearm from Echoes Act 2. For the heavy, you can use swords to deal with overloads, or rockets and linears for DPS, it's really up to you. The loadout is flexible, so you can use what you want, but again, going into the endgame activities, adjust your DPS weapons to the burn modifier. So again, this GM wants either machine guns, solar, or arc weapons, so those would be ideal when doing that specific GM for that current week. And also a pro tip here for new players, when doing those harder activities, change your resistant mods to match the activity's threat. So this GM is a void threat, so you'd want void resistance on, ideally twice. But it is also good to have an idea of what GM you're doing before going in, and what the majority of enemies are actually dealing for damage, so you can get an idea of what else to run for your third resistance mod. Exotic options you have if you're not using Outbreak are Sunshot, great for overload champions, and just effective ad clearing. Illumina is great for team play and extra healing effects, although this might be a bit overkill and it's just not necessary. You got Bad Juju for faster supers, Trinity Gore is great for ad clearing, Lee Monarch great for overloads, Polaris Lance and Graviton also great options, and the Red Death Reformed, again great for more health. So you do have quite a few options to choose from, and a lot of them do benefit the build a lot more. My personal favourites though is just the Outbreak, just because it's a great all-round weapon and it's kinetic, so it will charge up your Transcendence energy pretty quickly. Moving to the subclass, we are a Warlock Prismatic Subclass with the new Song of Flame Solar Super. If you want, you could use any super that you prefer, but it's strongly recommended to use the Solar one because it's great for both boss damage and ad clear, and it will also give us additional benefits along the way as well. The Rift we have is a Healing Rift for the extra healing, the Incinerate Snap melee ability, and a healing grenade which is required for this build to work. For the aspects, we have Feed the Void, where defeating a target with an ability activates Devour, and Devour effects are improved, restoring additional health and grenade energy. And we will be pairing this with the brand new solar aspect Hellion, where activating your class ability summons a solar mortar that lobs flaming projectiles at distant targets. Targets damaged by the mortar are scorched, and it's also worth noting that this does count as an ability kill if it does kill an enemy, so that will also trigger Devour and start the loop of the infinite grenades. You can't use Bleak Watcher with this build because we can't consume the grenade as we need it for the healing turret, and it just won't work for both. The Arc one just feels pretty weak and useless with this build, and the Strand one is only going to benefit you if you change a lot of major core parts of a build. So Feed the Void paired with Hellion is the best combo to have with this specific healing build. For Fragments, we have Facet of Purpose, so that picking up an Orb of Power grants restoration based on your equipped super, just an extra source of getting restoration. We have Facet of Hope, so that while we have an elemental buff such as Cure, Restoration, Devour and Radiant, which we'll have almost all the time, then our class ability will regenerate more quickly. Our third fragment is Facet of Awakening, so that rapidly defeating targets with light and darkness damage as well as supers generates a Fire Sprite for more grenade energy. Facet of Dawn, so that our powered melee hits against targets makes us radiant, and final blows make our allies radiant. And then lastly, Facet of Protection, so that while surrounded by combatants, we are more resistant to incoming damage, with the effect being increased when Transcendent. As for the main mods, we will be running cooldown mods with a bunch of artifact ones, and the very first mod we're using is a Siphon mod to generate orbs on rapid final blows with the matching weapon that we're using, so adjust this to suit the weapon that you're maining for kills. We also have one heavy ammo finder and one scout mod to help produce more heavy bricks for us and allies. Next we have 2 impact inductions and a focus and strike, which will allow us to get grenades and class abilities back faster when causing damage with a powered melee attack. In the chest you want to change your resistant mods based on the activity's threat. Legs, you want to start with an Absolution and 2 innovations for more cooldowns. Just put a scavenger mod on for your heavy weapon if you're going into content that requires a good amount of boss DPS that has multiple phases where you'd need a lot of ammo, so things like raids and dungeons. And then for the class, you want a distribution and 2 bombers for even more cooldowns. Now for the artifact perks, as of Echoes Act 2, we have Elemental Siphon, so rapid final blows with kinetic weapons matching your super's element will create a Fire Sprite. Counter Energy, so that we gain energy to to our least charged ability when someone stuns a champion, always handy. Radiant Orb, so that picking up an orb of power makes us radiant, so that will just make us radiant, give us restoration and ability cooldowns all from that one orb, pretty overpowered. But we also have the new solar one, where our ignitions do increase damage in an increased radius, great for Hellion and our supers. Shield Crush, so that while radiant our grenades recharge faster and does increase damage for when we are transcendent as well. And lastly Transference, so that our grenade and melee damage is increased while transcendent. And don't take my word on this, but I believe this also makes our supers, melee and grenade damage stronger as well. As for our stats, your first one you want is Resilience to 100, then Discipline second, followed by Recovery as the third stat. That would be your ideal triple 100 stats for this build if you are to master this as your main build in Destiny 2 Echoes. Anyway, this is your infographic for the full build setup. You can find a fully detailed build guide over on Mobilitics along with the dim link so that you can import your build exactly the way I have it. So you can find those links down below if you want to do that, along with a playlist for all my other class builds. But this build is hands down one of the best builds in the game this season for both team play and solo as a support build for endgame PvE. So guys, that there is your new Warlock Prismatic support build for the new Prismatic subclass in Destiny 2 The Final Shape episode Echoes. Next, you should check out the playlist for more top builds that you may be interested in for season 24 or episode 1. And if you liked this build or found it useful in any way, then feel free to drop a thumbs up as it does help me out. And if you want to see more videos like this, then stick around on the channel and I'll see you guys over in that next video. Peace out guys.